can you explain to us what are the major challenges for children living in the East Asian Pacific region?
Yes. Thank you. It's such a critical time right now for children, and probably number one is probably climate change and the negative impacts. The frequency and the severity of the climate crises and the shocks are happening more and more rapidly. So typhoons and cyclones, but also things like drought and floods and heat waves, pollution. So, close to 800 million children and youth in East Asia and the Pacific. And this region, more than any others, experiences multiple shocks. And so the global average is maybe 37%, but in East Asia and the Pacific, it's 67%, right?
Wow,
65%, yeah. And the number of shocks that they have increased, and the shocks they experience have increased 6 times over the past generations.
So what she was saying, it also means that related with their grandparents, children living today in East Asian Pacific experience 6 times the intensity and the frequency of the climate shocks that their grandparents used to experience. And this is particularly concerning because these shocks and stressors overlap one to each other. And as she mentioned, 65% of our children experience 4 or more shocks in a given period of time. And this is really eroding the capacities of children and, of course, their communities to cope with the effects of climate change.
So, besides climate change, what are other challenges that they're facing?
It's about also digitalization and the fact that probably half of the children of the region maybe are being left behind. And so even though there's great progress and advancement, hundreds of millions of children are not connected and to the benefits of technology and the internet and so on. But it's also about using digital technologies responsibly. And it's still very much a critical issue today. And I think we need to make sure that the gap doesn't widen and that the risks for children are mitigated. And then maybe another one is also the demographic transitions and the changes.
Demographic transition.
And changes. So we have some countries in the region which have shrinking, aging populations, right? And so it means that in fact the younger generations and children today and those generations to come will have a bigger burden to care for the older generations, and there's going to be fewer of them. So we need to find ways to adapt to that and make sure that also children today, and there's also a learning crisis in this region, about half of the 10-year-olds in middle-income countries and lower cannot read or comprehend a simple sentence. So, to care for elderly, we also need skilled workforce, healthy, productive, and also you have a PhD in education, you know the importance of education, but in fact, we're not at all at the standards we should be at.
Actually, it's a very large area and very diverse. So all the problems they face may be different from one country to another. So we have a lot of work to do, yes.
You're absolutely right. So 1/4 of the world's children live in East Asia and the Pacific.
Thank you. I visited Kiribati last year. And, when we talk about environmental problems, we thought, it's the future. It will influence the future. Not so. The problems are real. They're facing a disappearing nation.
Yes.
And the children are encountering things that their grandparents have never experienced, like cyclones, typhoons, king tides, droughts. And the economic situation has also changed because of the temperature of the ocean, the lack of drinking water, etc. So it is an urgent matter. It's no longer like an ideal or something like that. It's an urgent matter. It really made me understand that we really have to work harder and faster for the benefit of the children. Now we've talked about the challenges. So what are the inspirations or the hopes and for a better future? What can be done and what can we see in the future?
And thank you so much. And really, as you said, in many communities, including in the Pacific, which you saw, it's an existential crisis. They may go under. The work of UNICEF is to work across the whole range. We work on the better policies and programs to support children, the basic social services they need. We work with the community workers, the health workers, the teachers you met, and also the communities themselves and the children and the young people, because they are part of the solution. And thank you for listening to children's voices over decades, because they can best communicate what their realities are. But absolutely, investment in children is the foundation for more productive, stable, safer societies. And so thank you for being a Goodwill Ambassador for UNICEF for so many years, because the answer is in supporting and investing in children and working with them and listening to them.
And maybe I will add that one of the things that for us is super important is that you have seen that the problem is not a one single problem, is a sum of a lot of problems, right? The same children that are experiencing in Kiribati this completely devastating environment by plastics, right? And they have lack to access to water. They probably have lack to good nutrition or to access to school or health systems. And therefore, if we are really wanted to build resilience, we need to address a lot of things at the same time. Right, so this is the proposal that UNICEF is working with the governments in this region at a scale to say, look, if we really want to say that we are building resilience for communities, we need to work it intersectoriality so that we assure that we address at the same time the water and the sanitation and the education and the health and the nutrition, because otherwise with only one intervention is not enough. So this is a little bit what UNICEF is trying to develop in the region. We are very much ahead of the work with the governments, understanding this agenda and really putting all the elements that we need to really make it happen.
I actually saw that in Kiribati. It's like all the departments are sitting together and working together, and that make work more productive and also more effective. And as an ambassador, I think I should communicate more with all the countries so that, the countries within this region can understand each other. And the countries have their strengths and their weaknesses. Maybe they can complement each other. And if we can integrate their strengths together to help the weakness, maybe a better future is not impossible.
Right. Absolutely. That's our hope and the shared vision. And absolutely, we need to have continued regional solidarity, and definitely countries can learn from each other, and the support, including from Japan, is so critical. Yes.
And Japan has a lot of technology and a lot of goodwill. The Japanese people really, really care about the children of the world. That I can really say it out loud. They really have the love in their hearts. So with a lot of love and a lot of hope, let's work together and build a better future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.